everyone, how are you doing today? Today we are going to compare two of the recently released palettes, the Life's a Drag palette by Manny MUA and then the Weekend Festival palette by BH Cosmetics. I have a full first impression swatch tutorial video on this palette. If you haven't checked it, it'll be linked somewhere here on the screen and in the description box below. Both the palettes have some neutrals, some pops of color, and looking online, I wasn't able to pick between the two. So we are going to pitch them against each other. And why, you ask, my friend? Then you are new to my channel. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe before you proceed. Just hit that little subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be informed of my upcoming videos. However, I'm a scientist by training. I love comparing stuff and I have always compared stuff on my channel. If you don't know about it, I'll have the comparison playlist link somewhere here or in the description box. Alright, I ended up purchasing the Life's a Drag palette first because it's a palette by Manny MUA or Manny Mua, and he's an influencer on YouTube and I did not want it to sell out. I absolutely loved it at the first glance. This palette comes with 12 mattes and 2 shimmers, comes with one dual-ended brush and a beautiful mirror. The BH Cosmetics palette was actually released before the Lunar Beauty palette, but I ended up getting it afterwards, because I know that BH Cosmetics products always go on sale after the initial launch. So I was waiting for it to go on sale and I was able to grab it at a pretty steep discount. And this one comes with 20 shades and it also has a mirror, but it doesn't come with a brush. Now the Life's a Drag palette has 21 grams of product versus the BH Cosmetics palette has 22 grams of product. So that way they are pretty neck and neck. This one costs $45 and additional $6.50 or so for shipping. This one retails for $18. You will end up paying about the same amount of shipping if there is no deal going on. For me personally, I grabbed it for $10 because it was discounted. And then I also was able to sign up for their newsletter, which gave me free shipping. So I just paid $10 for this palette. I'm pretty ecstatic about that. So overall, I paid $10.95 for the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette, whereas for the Lunar Beauty palette, I ended up paying a total of $54.50. There are 22 grams, 20 shadows in the BH Cosmetics palette, making each shadow about 1.1 gram. The 21 grams in the Lunar Beauty palette is distributed among 14 shadows, making each shadow about 1.5 grams. In both the palettes, you get 12 matte shades, but in the BH Cosmetics palette, you get 1 satin and then 7 shimmers, whereas in the Lunar Beauty palette, you get only 2 shimmers. Now, looking at the ingredients, as you can see, the formula in both the palettes is totally different. The BH Cosmetics shadows start with talc, followed by synthetic fluorographite, which is basically synthetic mica, followed by mica, and then it goes into hexaethyl palmitate, magnesium stearate, hydrogenated polyisobutene, silica, dimethicone, etc. Whereas in case of the Lunar Beauty palette, the ingredients are kind of unusual. The first few ingredients are of course the same, but it starts with mica and then followed by talc and has silica, followed by calcium, aluminum, borosilicate, boron nitride. But along with the usual ingredients like methicone and caprylyl glycol, it has some unusual ingredients that I had never heard before, like the octyl-dodecyl stearoyl stearate or the stearine acetylase copolymer or lauryl lysine. But does that make this formula any better? We don't know. Only how these shadows apply on the eyes will tell that, right? Packaging wise, this is, pretty substantial and heavy feeling. This is kind of lightweight, but it still feels nice. I like the color scheme on both. I think I would be more attracted towards this packaging versus this packaging just because it is compact and it is also more vibrant in color. Now, just looking at the shades, I felt like they looked very, very similar. Both have pinks, purples, blues, yellows, and then some neutral shades. I felt that 4 of the shades could be dupes of each other. Kiki versus Palooza, which are both kind of these teal shades. Fishy versus Trans, blue shades with satin finish to them. Mug versus Hipster, which are both browns. And then the shimmery shades Legendary versus Flash from the BH Cosmetics palette. The first two shades I compared were Kiki versus Palooza, and when I did the full palette eye swatches, I did feel that Kiki was the weakest shade in the Life's a Drag palette, and that still held true here. So I'm going to use similar e.l.f. brushes and I'm going to try and pack on the color. I really can get the shade to show up on my lids. This is pretty much as I can build this one up. I might have to actually prime my lids white for it to show up. However, Palooza did. You know, they look so similar in the pans. I was very happy with the way Palooza was showing up on my lids. And because I took a couple of tries building up Kiki, I'm going to do the same with Palooza, even though I'm pretty happy with the way it looks even as is. But right now you have Kiki and Palooza. And yeah, I like Palooza better. I wish the pigmentation in the Lunar palette was more like that. I should mention that neither of the shadows gave me any fallout, and both the shadows have slightly stained my lids. When I compared Fishy versus Trans, Fishy is more of a phthalo blue versus Trans is more of an aquamarine blue. And as you can see, it's most definitely transferring or giving us fallout. And then let's go into Trans. This is definitely more of an ultramarine blue. This blue from BH is more shiny, and obviously this is also transferred. There's less of a fallout, you can say, like on my cheek. Well, there is some. Well, I think this is more of a slightly chunkier fallout, whereas this is less of like, it's more of a fine fallout. So you have Fishy and you have Trans. The shades are quite different actually over my lids, and I thought that they both perform very similar. As I'm trying to take them off, I have ended up removing my under eye concealer on both sides, but the Lunar Beauty shadow is a little bit more staining than the BH Cosmetics one. Does that mean it has more staying power? I don't know, but it has definitely stained my lids slightly more compared to this one. Then I thought that Mug and Hipster were pretty similar in the pans. However, I found out that Mug is a little bit on the cooler side as compared to Hipster. Hipster is more of a warm brown. So I feel like the Hipster shadow from the BH Cosmetics palette is somewhere between the Mug and the Trade shadow. So the Trade actually swatches very pink on me, so this shadow is somewhere in between these two. So you can get this color if you want by combining these two. So we have Mug and Hipster. I like both. I like both the shadows. Finally, I compared Legendary versus Flash. Shadow strikes as similar to me by just looking at the pans. Now the shimmers in the Life's a Drag palette are a whole different category. Like, they are amazingly pigmented, really soft, and they apply just gorgeously over the lids. Flash also looked nice, but it really couldn't match the shine of Legendary. So you have Legendary and you have Flash. Even when I did 2 applications of Flash, I still felt that Legendary still performed way better. Another shadow in the BH Cosmetics palette called Magical. It's also goldenish. So this is like a slightly whitish gold. This is more of a rosy gold, you can say. And then this is Legendary. I think I like Legendary better. And then I decided to go ahead and compare the shadows that looked kind of similar. There are pinks in both palettes. We have Kai Kai in the Lunar Beauty palette versus we have Dippy in the BH Cosmetics palette. Kai Kai from the Lunar Beauty palette is slightly on the cooler side. Dippy is more of a brighter pink. It's more on the slightly yellower side of pinks, you can say. We have Swag in the BH Cosmetics palette and Pageant Queen in the Lunar Beauty palette, which are both purples, but I would put the shadows from the BH Cosmetics side more on the warmer side, whereas the ones from the Lunar Beauty palette more on the cooler side. If I wipe it with a paper towel, as you can see, they all kind of turn a very similar shade of pink and stick around. And then among the shimmers, you have Beat, and then we have Boho and Solstice. Now Boho is a duochrome with a purple to golden shift. Solstice is a plain shimmer like the Beat shadow, but Beat has almost unmatchable shine. You have another kind of duochrome but whitish shimmer in the BH Cosmetics called Spirit, but again the shine is not as much as what you can find in the Lunar Beauty palette. Spirit shifts between purple and white shimmer. Now besides that, the rest of the shadows in each palette are unique to that palette. So the top shadows are the Lunar Beauty unique shadows, and the bottom shadows are unique to the BH Cosmetics palette. So overall, you might have figured by now that I really don't think that the two palettes are similar. I really like the neutral section that is present in the Lives That Drag palette. I like that there are two setting shades. One is slightly warmer, one is slightly cooler. So depending on your preference, you can use either of those. Whereas in the BH Cosmetics palette, there really isn't a setting shade even for my skin tone. If you are darker than me, you might be able to use Escape, but then you are limited by the crease shades because then you only have Hipster as the other darker brown. I do feel that the white and the black and then the presence of the whole neutral section in the Lives That Drag palette gives it an advantage. Whereas now if you look in the BH Cosmetics palette, you have a whole set of beautiful shimmers which are not even present in the Lives That Drag palette. For example, you have a teal shimmer called Ultimate, you have a gray shimmer called Carnival, you have a beautiful kind of dual chromy purple shade called Wicked, you have the beautiful golden and goldeny green shadow. So I think you will be able to kind of create more looks using the BH Cosmetics palette as long as you supplement it with a matte neutral palette or with one basic matte setting shade for your skin tone. So those two are the main things that are missing in the BH Cosmetics palette, a matte black and a setting shade. So given all that, I feel like these two palettes are pretty different from each other. I would recommend getting either of those to you. Of course, price will be a determining factor. If you want to save some money, go with the BH Cosmetics palette. It is always pretty much going to be on sale. This one, I feel like it's a complete palette in its own. The fact that it comes with a brush, comes with the mirror, you're set to travel with it. You get a whole section of neutrals. So if you just want to create a neutral look for work, you're set. If you want to add some vibrant colors, you're set. But you get only two shimmers. They are gorgeous, but get only two. You don't get as many colors as you get in this palette. My today's look I have created using shadows from both the palettes. If you're interested, let me know so in the comments below, and whenever I have that look uploaded, I will link it somewhere on the screen and in the description box below. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this comparison. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!